At 30 years of age, J.K. Rowling was a divorced mother of two and was living off of government assistance before she went on to become one of the most celebrated authors. In 1948 Japan, Momofuku Ando was 48 when he discovered instant noodles, 10 years after serving a 2-year jail sentence for tax evasion. After 50 years of working various jobs in steam engine rooms, filling stations, and insurance companies, Colonel Sanders discovered the secret recipe for fried chickens. The whole thing blew up and the company expanded to more than 600 locations. These are only a few examples of the so-called late bloomers, and these people showed that age is merely a number, and it shouldn't be a cause for concern for those of us who might feel they are lagging behind in life. Our society's expectations that demand us to be a certain way by a certain age can sometimes be too overwhelming. If we don't have a stable, permanent job, the society can be too quick to label us as a worthless loser. If we don't get married by 30, there's something inherently wrong with us. If our income doesn't reach 6 figures by 40, it's unacceptable. We should increase our work hours and scratch that 2-day weekend getaway off our list, instead of feeling pressure to fulfill them. Perhaps we should question the validity of such improbable expectations and ask ourselves how they came to be in the first place. Much of our self-esteem is derived from our education system that mostly favors the good apples over the bad ones. If we do poorly in class, it's likely we'd receive less attention from the teachers than those who do, subsequently giving us the hint that in order to do well in life, we need to gain others' approval and recognition. Being compared with our peers isn't a bad thing in itself, and could actually provide us the standard with which we could use to get better and improve ourselves. Nevertheless, the excessive worrying and self-doubting that comes from trying to live up to every expectation of others, more often than not, defeats the whole idea of real personal growth. So, in order to have a more fulfilling life that allows us to express our unique talents and geniuses, we should perhaps use a different rulebook to the one we are using now. Instead of looking outside for a sense of achievement and self-worth, why not look within this time? I saw this quote on the internet the other day, and it just rang so true on so many levels. No matter how good you really are, there will always be someone better, faster, and sharper out there. But there's no one who will ever be better at being you than you. You are unique in your own ways, figuring things out at your own pace, and that's perfectly fine. Right now, if we feel we haven't kept up with the progress of our peers, this is actually an advantage that perhaps no one else has. Most people already have things figured out before they were even born, and what happens is they just move along according to the dictates of the environment without ever really listening to their own wishes, dreams, and desires. These so-called pragmatic people might have the most stable jobs and the most secure lives, but what they don't possess is freedom, because they are essentially afraid of freedom, afraid of losing their reputation if they suddenly quit their job, afraid of what their relatives might think of them if they choose to get a divorce, afraid of losing their homes and possessions if they decide to travel abroad for an indefinite period of time. They feel like they have so much to lose, and it's holding them back from truly pursuing the things they really want. So, if we feel like we are lagging behind to these people, then we should actually consider ourselves very lucky. We have nothing to lose and more freedom than most people, which leads us to the next point. Sometimes, if we feel like something's wrong with our life, it's not that life sucks and it wants to keep us miserable and frustrated. Sometimes, it's just the way we frame things. If we don't have a stable job, it doesn't mean we're completely, hopelessly unemployed. We simply have all the time in the world to explore everything on offer in this world without any obligations. We can choose any profession we like, take up any interest, basically do what we want to do for fun. Isn't that what we're all dreaming of anyways? To be able to earn so much money so that we can have the freedom to do anything we want to do anytime we want to do it. Well, if only we take some time to reframe our life, we might realize we already have some of the things we desire deep down. Yet, this doesn't mean we'll keep wondering about. There will be a time when we'd finally say to ourselves, I've had enough adventures, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I'm just going to focus all my time and energy into it. But until then, we should enjoy the constant trial and errors. Roger Federer, one of the best tennis players of all time, is supposedly as good a tennis player as he is due to his dedication and commitment to one thing and one thing only, being a tennis player. But as a kid, he actually had wide interest in many sports, such as skiing, wrestling, swimming, football, basketball, and he credited his involvement in these sports for his excellent hand-eye coordination and athleticism in tennis. That goes to show that the universe has a plan for us. Do what makes us feel excited today. We might not realize how it would be useful for us in the bigger scheme of things, but have faith that the universe somehow knows better. Often, we might already be on the right track, and yet, when things aren't working out as quickly as we hope, we tend to put in a little more effort, hoping the results would arrive sooner. More often than not, this would just backfire on us. The more we pursue a relationship, the more we'd come across as desperate and turn the other person off. At work, we often put in more overtime hours in the hope that our boss would notice. Yet, the other guy who's lounging around idly and doing basically nothing every single day seems to be getting all the praises. Why is that? The English philosopher Alan Watts called this the backwards law. The more we pursue something, the more it will get away from us. The harder we try to grasp the water, the more quickly it will slip through our fingers. Life should be an effortless, spontaneous unfoldment of our desires. All we need to do is state our desires, trust the process, and let it happen. When something isn't going our way, perhaps it's the universe redirecting us to something much better than originally hoped for. If our business is failing, perhaps it's not that we need to work harder. Sometimes it's the universe telling us there's better business elsewhere. If we don't get the romantic partner we think we want, perhaps it's because there's someone better out there who's more compatible with us and understands exactly our needs. Right now, we might be thinking that everything we do seems to be going round in circles, never building up to something meaningful, something we can actually be proud of. But hold on a minute. Perhaps the struggles in our life may not be so bad after all. Perhaps our future successful self would look back on today and he might actually say, I really needed that slap on the face. That setback taught me so much. That's actually the most beautiful period of my life. Life is always meant to be bittersweet. Having not tasted the bitterness of failures, how could we ever recognize the sweetness of success? They are two sides of the same coin, called life. If we feel like we're lagging behind in life, trust that we are exactly where we need to be. Take pleasure in the glorious depths of this moment while it lasts.